The Raven Nevermore. How often have you heard these words but never thought about the man who wrote them? Edgar Allan Poe was a 19th century author. His inspirations can be seen through the work of artists and authors today. Hi, I'm Adriana Ahart, and I'm here to tell you how Edgar Allan Poe has influenced American pop culture through movies, graphic novels, and music. Now, how exactly has Edgar Allan Poe influenced cinema? According to Derek Roller Parker's Insequential Poetry, recent graphic novels narrative adaptation of Poe, there have been 150 narrative adaptations of Poe's work, including one that's my favorite, Detective Sherlock Holmes. Next, in an article by Scott Peebles, that's called That Name Will Never Be Worth Anything. He talks about different adaptations of Poe on screen. My favorite is a 2012 screen movie called The Raven. This is a film about Edgar Allan Poe becoming a detective, and the murderer is using Poe's stories as the setup for his murders. It's really cool, and it's a fun way to see the books being brought to life. In a book review of Adapting Poe, Reimagining Popular Cultures by Demis R. Perry and Carl Cederholm, Lawrence Rawl mentions other movies influenced by Poe. And one of these is the structure of Inception, and the other is one of my personal favorites, adult cartoons, The Simpsons. You've probably seen this episode. It's The Raven, and a lot of high school teachers like to use it in their classroom. So next, we go from screen to page with Poe's influence on graphic novels. So, Derek Parker Royal describes these influences. So this is Classics Illustrated. If you don't know what Classics Illustrated is, it's a set of stories brought into comic form. It's beautiful, and I love them. We have a few of them at my home. My brother and I read them. Poe also loosely provided influence for some comics, like Batman in his Batman series, Nevermore. It's a mini-series based on a couple of his stories, like The Black Cat or The Raven. So lastly, it's my favorite, Lenore by Roman Dirge. Lenore is a comic about a little girl who is dead. So, Roman Dirge wrote the stories, and he's the writer of Invader Zim, if you know that show. And if you will pick up one of his comic books, the first page is a Poe quote from Lenore, the Little Poem. So, from dialogue to lyrics, we'll talk about Poe's effect on music. In Telltale Signs, Edgar Allan Poe and Bob Dylan, towards a model of intellectuality, Bob Dylan, it talks about Bob Dylan having a whole album that's influenced by Poe. It's called Telltale Signs. And he even had went and saw a Poe impersonator at one point. So, next, we're going to talk about the Beatles, who I love. In Fame Afterlife, The Mystery of Edgar Allan Poe's Death by Kirsten Mulligan, he's on the Sgt. Pepper's cover. He's right there. And he's in the song I Am the Walrus, which I love. It's the lyric in it is, "Men, you should have seen them kicking Edgar Allan Poe." Finally, the last point I want to talk about is Poe has now become a meme in popular culture in relation to music. If you've ever heard Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, you've heard this line, "I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me." So people took it and turned it into a meme to "I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me." And so here are my in conclusion, Poe's, shoot! As you can see, Poe's influence has passed through the classic literary world. So next time you watch a movie or listen to a piece of music, I want you to think who inspired it. Here are my references. Have a good day.